This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Chef Cutter Diamond welcoming to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy to open up this month of December is a icon who is actually a free agent as a wide receiver. He doesn't play for any NFL teams. He played college football for a few years, got selected in the 2008 NFL draft, and has played for Washington, Philly, Tampa, and the Rams. Been to the Pro Bowl 3 times and was a specialist. He's a little bit of a prick in some people's eyes, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, he is DeSean Jackson, who's now 37 years old. DeSean Jackson was born in Los Angeles and grew up in the Crenshaw neighborhood. Not really a good neighborhood. But anyway, he was a track star and liked to play baseball and football. He went to the U.S. Army All-American Bowl for high school players in San Antonio, Texas, getting 7 passes for 144 yards and helping the West win. However, he actually wanted to somersault from the 5-yard line for a touchdown, but landed at the 1 and and dropped the football. So he went to the University of Cal, which was amazing. There were rumors he would go to USC, but he went to the Cal Golden Bears, playing 3 years with them. In his first game against Sacramento State, he scored an offensive and special teams touchdown. He picked up 7 touchdown receptions and put up 130 yards and 2 touchdowns in the 2005 Las Vegas Bowl against BYU. He was going to play for Cal for baseball, but because of his success as a freshman football player, he stuck to football. Jackson was pretty good, getting 9 touchdowns in his sophomore season and actually returned 4 punts for touchdowns, which was pretty amazing. One of the best returners around. He went to into his 3rd season, junior, being Heisman candidate, and he got a punt return for a touchdown against Tennessee. He looked pretty good, scoring 6 touchdowns as a receiver. Unfortunately, his effectiveness was ruined by injuries and all that. He was part of the 2007 Armed Forces Bowl. He actually decided to declare for the 2008 NFL Draft after his junior year. But he set Pac-10 records for punt returns for touchdown a season with 4 and in a career with 6. He's 3rd in receiving yards in Cal history with 2,400 yards and receiving touchdowns with 22. So anyway, the draft class had a lot of talented wideouts and all that. So anyway, he went to the 2008 NFL Draft hoping to be drafted. And after a first round of no wide receivers, the Rams took the wide receiver Donnie Avery from Houston. Big mistake. Washington took Devin Thomas from Michigan State. Not happening. Green Bay took Jordy Nelson from Kansas State, and it worked out quite well. Buffalo took James Hardy from Indiana. Not a good idea. Denver took Eddie Rhoda from Tech. Okay. Cincy took Jerome Simpson from Coastal Carolina. Well, he was okay in a sense. But Philly with the 49th pick overall took DeSean Jackson. So it looked pretty good. He signed a 4-year deal with the Eagles, making things happen. He was made the starting punt returner and a second-string wide receiver. But he started opening day because of Kevin Curtis and Reggie Graham both going down with injuries. He would pick up 106 receiving yards in the win over the Rams and return 8 punts for 97 yards. He had 200 all-purpose yards, a rookie wide receiver mark. However, in his second professional game against the Cowboys, he made a giant boo-boo. He actually was going to run into the end zone, but he celebrated prematurely by flipping the football behind him at the 1-yard line. It would have been his first NFL touchdown, but it didn't happen. It was overturned. Fortunately, though, Philly recovered the ball at the 1 and scored a touchdown. But the Cowboys won that game 41-37. He put up 110 yards on 6 receptions, becoming the first receiver in NFL history to have 100 yards receiving in each of his first 2 games since Don Mooney in 1940. He scored his first offensive touchdown for the Eagles against the Bears. And, in the playoffs, He did score a big touchdown against the Cardinals in the NFC title game, but the Cardinals won that game. Anyway, he put up 207 receiving yards, which was pretty good and all that. So anyway, he put up 912 receiving yards, breaking the Eagles' record for most receiving yards by a rookie. So anyway, he had another punt return touchdown to start the 2009 season against Carolina. He looked pretty impressive and all that. Put up 1,000 yards as a receiver and did quite well. He was frustrated about a contract extension for the 2010 season. And he put up over 1,056 receiving yards. However, December 2010 against the Giants, he made an unbelievable play. Eagles were actually down by 3 touchdowns with 8 minutes left and came back with 3 unanswered touchdowns. With 14 seconds left, the Giants decided to try to punt to the Eagles, but Matt Dodge, the Giants punter, was told to angle it out of bounds so that DeSean Jackson couldn't return it. Although DeSean Jackson actually had the ball but muffed it. Bud picked it up and then ran 65 yards through the Giants and ran out the clock by running parallel to the goal line. It was the only time in NFL history that the game ended on a punt return from scrimmage. Well, in regulation, I've seen punt returns for touchdowns in overtime, but in regulation. Jackson had failed to report to Eagles training camp, and he faced a lot of problems and all of that. But he did hold out till August the 8th. One more day and he would have lost a year of service time during free agency. He had some weirdness, but he was still the leading receiver for the Eagles. He got the franchise tag in 2012 and signed to a 5-year, $51 million deal. Putting up 700 yards in 11 games because of an injury, fractured rib. And then Jackson did decently and had 1,332 yards, the second most yardage by an Eagles receiver. Despite all that, he was actually released by the Eagles, surprisingly, in 2014. Washington gave him a chance and signed him to a 3-year, $24 million contract. However, Jackson early against Jacksonville had to leave the game in an injury. He still played the following week against the Eagles in Philadelphia and scored an 81-yard touchdown pass. And he knew he was good. 1,169 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. So anyway, Jackson did decently with only 4 touchdowns and all that. He put up 1,000 yards receiving in the 2016 season and then signed free agency, a 3-year, $33 million contract with Tampa. Put up 3 receiving touchdowns for the 2017 season. Then 2018, DeSean got the 10,000 receiving yard mark, making him the 47th player to do so. And then he was traded back to Philadelphia for a 6th-round pick. So Jackson made his Philly return, but he had to go through core muscle surgery, put on IR. In 2020, the COVID season, he was decent, but he suffered a few lower body injuries. Finished the season with only 1 receiving touchdown in 5 games, and was released 2021. The Rams picked him up, and he was there, but in November, he actually asked to be released by the Rams and went to the Raiders and had a pair of touchdowns in that season. The funny thing was, even though that he wasn't on the Rams when they won Super Bowl 56, because he was on the active roster during the season, he was given a Super Bowl ring. Anyway, he was signed to the Ravens practice squad It was the oldest active receiver in the NFL, and the Ravens activated him for a few games. So, yeah. He's not officially retired, but I like to think he is. 183 games with Philly, Washington, Tampa, Rams, Vegas, and Baltimore. 11,263 receiving yards, 58 touchdowns. Punt returns, he had 4 in his first 3 seasons, but none since. Not really given a chance to be a punt returner. DeSean Jackson was on the cover of NCAA 09 for the PS2 in his Cal outfit. Pretty impressive. And of course, he was known for his multiple premature celebrations, which have had lost touchdowns. He's been in trouble for his anti-Semitism, which is not really good for anybody in this situation. So that's what happened to him. But, you know, he's a decent wide receiver, and I think one of the best Eagles receivers of all time. Bite me on it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.